Welcome back to another episode of the True Brit podcast. I'm Brittany, and today I'm here with two very special guests, Lou and Ivan. And I'm not going to introduce them too much because they're going to tell a little bit more about their stories, but I will say we are right now in a place called Casa de la Gringa in Peru, which is where I met Lou and where Lou works with wachuma or San Pedro. He'll talk a little bit more about that. And Ivan, we met at the ayahuasca retreat center I used to work at. He was a guest there a couple times. So excited to have you guys on the podcast. And welcome. So does one of you want to start by kind of introducing yourself and giving us a little bit of history on how you got here, why you got here, what you've been doing?
Yeah, so I'm Lou, and I currently am a volunteer and apprentice here. And, you know, it's so interesting because this medicine, maybe all of them, you know, it's like once they have a calling, they'll just find you. And so, you know, we've had people that have come here and just thought this was a regular hostel. We've had people...
Oh, what a surprise.
Like, we've had people That's whose, awesome. Like, friend that they met on the bus just told them they should come here. For me, I was at a retreat center in the jungle, and I was walking by a conversation, and he was like, yeah, if you're going to Cusco, I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, if you're going to Cusco, you should try San Pedro. It's really good for after ceremony, after ayahuasca. I was like, I am going. So he's like, go check out these two places. And I texted both. And if you've ever been here before, you know Leslie will text you right back. And she texted me, and I was like, okay, I'll be there on Wednesday. And I ended up coming for a day, and then I stayed for 2 weeks and changed my flight, and then went with them to Africa, and then decided to come volunteer, and then just never left. So
Awesome.
I'm here now.
Love it. Okay, brief background for you.
Okay, so I initially went to Dreamglade about 3 years ago, I believe, and that's where I met Britt. And on that trip, I did not come to Casa de la Gringa afterwards, but Britt told me about it. I believe you were the first one who was like, you should do San Pedro. It grounds you after the ayahuasca ceremony. And I decided to come back to Dreamglade the year after, and with my girlfriend. And then we both came to Casa de la Gringa, and that's when I met Lou, and we were the first ceremony that he held.
Oh,
which
right.
was crazy. And now we're back, and yeah, we're back with Lou and Britt, and it's crazy how life works sometimes.
Yeah.
It is wild that we're all three sitting here right now recording a podcast together.
You know.
And with Sammy.
Oh yeah, and this is this is my dog Sammy. He's a puppy still. He's about 9 months old.
Special guest.
He was in a car accident, and my teacher found him. And the original owner did not want to pay for his broken leg, and actually wanted to put him to sleep. And so at that time, we had him sign him over to us. And so now he's my little child that's born of my DNA. So.
Right. That's your literal
human
DNA.
My little human child.
It's funny because he actually looks exactly like you.
Really, you can see the resemblance. It's uncanny. Yes. So where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start with... So a little backstory also. We'd also just did mushrooms together as a group a couple days ago here at Casa de la Gringa, just on our own, not sponsored.
Mountain Mushroom Club.
Mountain Mushroom Club, coined by Lou. And Ivan had, well, we all had pretty intense days, but Ivan had a real intense day. So do you want to start there, or do you want to start somewhere else? It's up to you.
That's good.
Okay, we'll jump right in.
Yeah, so it was the first time that I took a hero's dose, which was 5 grams. And I think for a lot of people, after they do ayahuasca or other plant medicine, other psychedelic trips kind of become more intense. And so it definitely did not feel like any other mushroom trip, mushroom ceremony for me. It felt more like an ayahuasca ceremony. I'm still processing it, to be honest with you, but yeah, I saw a lot of crazy shit. I don't know. Should I talk about the
No,
whatever you
no,
want.
everything. Let's
Okay.
just, yeah, but let's, if you can do it maybe in order a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, it kind of flowed in different ways
For
throughout
sure.
the day.
For sure. Yes.
Even with starting, because I think originally you thought you had to take the heroic dose. And then I was like, no, you don't have to. And you're like, no, I want to. I made the decision.
Well, I've always been kind of afraid of mushrooms. Like every single mushroom ceremony or mushroom trip I've had before this, it was terrifying. It brought up a lot of stuff, a lot of scary stuff for me. And I really only tried mushrooms maybe 3 times before this. And my last mushroom trip, I was in Detroit, and I was riding my bike to Belle Isle, and it kicked in so quick I had to set up on the side of the road, and I started seeing the ayahuasca visuals, and I started to feel like I'm going to purge, and I couldn't do it because there were police officers walking around and just people holding hands walking around, and so I held it in and just had the most terrifying trip. I felt like I was going through a wormhole of different realities, and in my mind I didn't take mushrooms that day, but I forgot to take my medication, and I woke up in a mental hospital.
Whoa.
And I was like, fuck, my whole life up until that point was just a figment of my imagination, and it was terrifying. It felt like all life was drained, all joy was drained out of my life, and it was the first time that I felt like the only way to stop this was to kill myself.
Wow.
And so I lay down in my bed. My girlfriend came to pick me up. I lay down in my bed and just shivered until it was over. But yeah.
Oh, man.
So I was a little bit afraid. I was a little bit terrified going into it, but I knew I was in the best place to do this. You guys are professionals. And I just decided I'm gonna do a hero's dose. This is the only place where I would do a hero's dose. And it's funny because I felt like that's exactly what I needed. I needed to explore why every time I take shrooms I freak out, there's something there.
Yeah.
And it did not disappoint. I think Britt kind of asked after the ceremony was ending, she asked did it feel like the veil was lifted, and I was like, yeah. And the ceremony started out with a lot of visuals, very colorful. It kind of felt like it was showing me that I'm finally taking ownership of my life, I'm coming into my own power. And I also got the message this is exactly where I need to be. I'm in the right place in my life. And then I started. That's when the lizard people came in.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck! What? If anybody would have, I've heard about the lizard people before. The reptilians, I believe that's
their term.
That's a
I
correct
guess.
term.
Yeah.
And if anybody would have talked to me about reptilians 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I would have been very skeptical. I would have been like, okay, this is going a little bit too far. But I felt like there was these reptilian entities that are maybe living in a different dimension. They're kind of controlling certain aspects of our society.
Yeah.
And they kind of feed on the wars and the negative news and our negative emotions. It got really dark for a second, and it felt like I was never. It often feels like that trip is never gonna end. I'm forever stuck in this in this mental space. It also felt like you guys were in a cult, and I didn't know I was in a cult, and you always hear about people somehow they got in the cult and they don't know how they got there, right? And I was like, fuck, I did it.
Yeah.
I fucking did it. I'm in Peru, I'm in the cult, I'm never coming home. Like, what the fuck do these people want from me?
Oh, no.
But yeah,
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and Britt was just like asking me like, what's going on, and I was just like, I have a hard time trusting, but people, because I thought she was in the cult, and the way that she looked at me, like her face was morphing into this like devil.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Sorry, Britt. I know.
It's okay. People have called me all kinds of things.
But okay, what's so funny though is that one of the things that you said was that like, oh, I'm never gonna be the same after this, and like in my mind I was like, yeah, I know. But in the moment we're like, no, dude, don't worry. Like everything's gonna be normal. It's just gonna take a while. But in my heart, in my mind, I was like, yeah, man, that's the point.
Yeah, that's the
point. And I'm excited
man.
for when this phase is over, for you to feel that you're not gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And the fact that right before all of the scary shit happened, you got this, like, sense of power and, like, okay, I'm a man, I'm strong, I can do this. And I feel like that was enough to bring in the tough stuff.
Yeah.
Because it, like, set you up for that. It's like, you can handle whatever's coming next. And you did.
For sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, the funny thing is, when I said that I don't know who to trust, and it, like, immediately triggered, like, the lesson, and I was just like, oh fuck, like I really don't have trust in myself a lot. I mean, I don't have a lot of trust in myself.
Yeah,
like I sometimes it brought me back to certain times when you meet somebody and you're in your head, and it's really all because of the lack of trust. You're not comfortable being yourself,
right?
So yeah, and I was just like, oh fuck, like yeah, this is exactly what this is. This is a lack of trust in myself. It's not a lack of trust in other people, like they're trying to have me join a cult. It's really lack of trust in myself, and I've had this same theme running through some of my other psychedelic experiences.
Yeah,
so it kind of everything just fucking clicked.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So when did you feel? Was it that moment when you actually felt that things started to calm down, when you realized that was the lesson, or kind of, because I wasn't sure. I mean, we were there, and in like what we do, it's definitely about finding the balance of just like allowing you to feel what you need to feel, not being like, hey, like you can calm down, like we don't do any of that, Yeah. And even like, yeah, when you said like, I don't know who to trust, and I was like, well, trust yourself. Like,
yeah.
You
know, that's exactly what
Brett
and Paige said. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, you don't have to trust us. And, so when was it that you saw like the switch happen?
So it was when I was on the grass, and you came up to me, and I think I said, it feels like I'm losing control. Mm-hmm. And then you just said, losing control of what? And as soon as you said it, I was just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And then I instantly like was calmer.
Good one, Lou.
Yeah, that was fucking great. That was awesome.
Meanwhile, I'm just like, my eyes are bawling, and I'm just laughing.
Literally could not stop laughing the entire day. We were not, I was not the best help, especially because when you looked at me and you're like, I don't know, like I'm having this thing with trust, and I was like, I didn't say this out loud, but I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I know that look in his eyes.
Yeah, it's the spiral.
He does not trust me. He does not trust the situation. Like, and I get that. I've been in that moment before of like, oh shit, what's real? I don't know what's real. And ultimately it was with ayahuasca for me, but it got me to the exact same place where it was like, you don't trust anyone because you don't trust yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And since you don't trust yourself, you assume that everyone else is like kind of bullshitting too.
Yeah.
But that's a huge one, especially if that was like kind of the thread in a lot of your trips.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it's not like I'm consciously not trusting people or situations. It never felt like that, but I could see how like there are certain recurring themes since I was a child, like certain things that happened to me in childhood and young adulthood that made me kind of lose trust in myself and other people. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit about your background? I mean, I know me and Lou know, but for anyone listening, because you just have such an interesting background, and I find you so inspirational. So you want to give us a little bit more about why you have trust issues or where you came from?
So I was born in Russia, in St. Petersburg, and when I was 11, well, I guess I should say that I was born in 88, and that's when the Soviet Union fell apart in 1990, and so during the 90s, like Russia experienced some of the darkest times. Like it was the Wild West, basically. Like there was, the communism fell apart and Russia was kind of becoming a capitalist society, but everything was just fucked up. Nobody knew what was going on. And just a lot of crime, a lot like lack of jobs. And yeah, it was just pretty dark time. As a kid, I didn't realize it was happening. Like I was going through any super dark period. But looking back at it, it's like fuck, it's insane. So when I was 11, my mom decided to take me to the United States, and it was really difficult to just get a visa and go to the United States. So my dad actually went first. My dad went to the United States a year before we did. Then we came and we went to Mexico, and we decided to go through the border of Tijuana, and just go the back door basically. And I remember this image of looking at the border in Tijuana, and I saw this couple, this guy just climbing this tall fence and hopping over to the other side, kissing his girlfriend, and she threw his bag over to him, and he just ran.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh fuck. I realized that, like, wow, this is like, we're gonna have to do that.
How old were you?
I was 11.
And so how old were they?
The couple...
your parents.
Oh, my mom was 31.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so she was younger than I am right now.
Yeah, but what a badass. Like, that's crazy.
Well, so I do remember this, like, my mom just kind of grabbing my hand. There was like a group of like maybe 6 people. They were with us. They were all trying to cross the border.
Okay.
And everybody was just like standing, like, okay, like, where did we go? And then I remember my mom was the first one. She just grabbed my hand and just went, and it was crazy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is so nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, well, we actually didn't jump like that couple did. We just went up to the border guard and tried to like walk through. And this was pre 9/11, where the security was a lot more lax. And the border guard was just like, "Where's the documents?" And my mom was like, "Nope." And so they just took us into this like center in San Diego. It was called Casa de San Juan. And we spent, I think, 3 months there. And they let us go pending like a court date.
Okay.
And so my dad was already in Detroit.
Okay.
And I remember we took a train all the way down to Detroit. And yeah, that's how I got to the United States.
Wow.
So, and then what happened was there was supposed to be a court date. We changed addresses, and the court letter was sent to our old address. And so we missed the court date, and we automatically became illegal. And at that point, it was I think maybe like 2 or 3 years, and we were just like, we're not going back to Russia.
Yeah.
So we just stayed, and I lived illegally in the United States until I was 21, when I was arrested by Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. They raided my house.
Wow.
And they took me and my mom to jail. My dad at that point already left and came back to Russia. He left when I was, I think, 14 years old. And I spent 4 months in jail total. My mom got deported, and my girlfriend at the time, she started this like petition for me that got really big with all the major news networks, and they got me out of jail. Still pending deportation. They put an ankle bracelet on my ankle, and I started doing work with this immigration organization, basically like helping other people in similar situation. And there was this movement called the Dreamer movement, where they were trying to pass legislation to allow people, basically in my situation, to stay. And so I was still pending my deportation. I was doing work for this organization, and then one day I got a letter from Barack Obama from the White House invited me to a dinner party there. And I remember it was the anniversary of my arrest. It was exactly a year after I got arrested. Cinco de Mayo, May 5th.
You still had the ankle bracelet?
I still had the ankle bracelet. So then I actually had to ask permission from immigration, because every time I had to leave, if I wanted to leave the state, I had to ask permission. So I had to go there and ask. I think I just asked if I can go to Washington D.C. to a house party. I didn't tell him I was going to the White House.
Wait,
I was afraid. I was going. Yeah, because I was afraid they're not gonna let me go, because the immigration in Detroit was fighting really hard to deport me. They didn't want to. They basically didn't want to seem weak and see how they, like, such a big case as myself was able to just like squeeze through the tracks.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fucking intense. Yeah, I was like terrified for the whole year. They would come in, I think, every couple of weeks in where I lived to check on me. And yeah, it was wild. But so then right before I left for the White House, they called me to tell me to come into the immigration office, and I went, and they took off my ankle bracelet. Like,
oh wow, with
no warning at all. And so then I went to the White House, and Obama was there, and like just like all these like celebrities were there and shit. And I was drinking back then, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? This is insane. And I remember I just got really drunk. There was an open bar.
Yeah.
And and so then I think 2 months later I got my green card in the mail again with no warning. So I wasn't even supposed to get my green card in my situation.
Oh my
So I got super lucky. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was able to get my citizenship a few years later when I was like 27.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing story.
So the craziest part, I found this out later because I did my what the hell was it called? It's when you can check your like government record. Your
Hold on. Okay, we're back. We just had to pause for a second because Leslie came in, but continue.
So yeah, I did my FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act. You can basically request any papers that the government has on you, and they have to send it to you. Oh. And so because I was really just interested in like what they had on me, and so I looked in the papers. I think they came like a year after I requested them. I completely forgotten.
Wow.
But I thought that basically all this media attention stopped my deportation, but I found out there was a forest fire during the day they were supposed to deport me, and it canceled the plane that I was supposed to be on, and so they gave enough time for the people who were working on my case to
wow,
basically kind of push it through. Yeah. And now I'm here. Now I'm in fucking Peru.
Now you're in
insane.
fucking Peru. After all that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, because it must have been, absolutely crazy to be like separated, like from your mom, and then like your dad already being in Russia. But did this kind of like give you hope and faith again in life? Or what was your like feeling going through this kind of process?
Well, I'll be honest, like when I did get out of jail, I was in a really low mood. Like I remember I was just like I just spent like 4 months in jail, and like the food, I just looked horrible. Like there's a picture of me, I think, on Fox News where I look so pale, and I just come out like the first day I come out of jail, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to like give an interview. Like, I just want to be kind of left alone,
Of course.
But I had to do that stuff, because I was like, this is a way that I can be in this country. And I definitely, it was definitely a lot harder. A lot harder when I got out than I thought it would be, because just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Will I ever see my mom again? I went back. I remember going back to our old house where we got arrested, and I just like broke down.
Yeah.
I just like fuck. Yeah.
She got arrested too?
Yeah, we got arrested the same time. We're in the same jail, like in different sections. Like,
was it like a specific kind of jail?
So, it was called Calhoun County Jail in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it was a regular jail, but they had an immigration unit there. And so for the first month I was in the immigration unit, and then I got charged with inciting a riot, and they moved me into the real jail.
Inciting a riot?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah, I didn't really do. So they would have these like federal agents come in and talk to all of the immigration detainees.
Yeah.
Once a week, I believe. And one of these guys came in, and he was just an asshole. He was like making fun of this guy who just got arrested, some Albanian guy. And he was like, he was asking what's going to happen to my kids after I'm deported. His kids were born in the United States, and this guy was like, I'm going to keep your fucking kids or something like that. And I didn't like raise my voice. I didn't like hit him or anything. I was just like, hey man, why would you say that? You know? And then he pressed this emergency button, and all these guards like came in and they tackled me, and they put me in the real jail. But that actually saved me, because if I wouldn't have done that, they would have sent me on the same plane with my mom. But because I was deemed more dangerous, they were going to send me on a separate flight.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next, is why didn't they deport you at the same time? And that
because
was
of
the
this.
reason?
Yeah.
And then because like immediately after, then your girlfriend at the time started like the petition, so then that's why. So they were going to send you.
Yeah, they were going to send me, yeah.
This is very much like that story of the maybe farmer.
Yeah.
Like...
What's the story of the maybe farmer?
Do you know the story?
No.
Oh my god, I tell it so badly, so forgive me. It's basically like there's this... I'm going to just totally butcher this story, but it's basically like you never know if something's good or bad, because this guy's like on a farm and he gets a horse and someone's like, oh, that's great, you got a horse, and he's like, maybe. And then the horse, like, his son's on the horse, and he breaks his leg, and they're like, oh, well, now that's so bad you have a horse. And he's like, maybe. And then they come to draft this kid for war, and he can't go because his leg is broken. So they're like, oh, my God, that's so good. And he's like, maybe. So you get the point. It's like, you never know if something is actually for your ultimate good or bad. Even if something seems horrible, like getting switched into the other, like, the real jail. It's like, that actually kind of kept you in the country.
Of course, yeah. And I'm so grateful for, like, all this experience, honestly. Like, even when, like, I remember even when I was in jail, I had such a good time. I met such cool people there. Like,
where were they from mostly?
So the immigrant unit, they were from all over the place. Yeah, they were from Albania. I think I was the only Russian, actually. They were like from Africa, from different African countries, from Middle East.
Oh, wow.
From everywhere. A lot of Mexicans.
Yeah,
mostly Mexicans, actually.
Right.
And but not a lot of people spoke English. So when I actually got transferred to the real jail, I was like, oh, I can talk again. It was really nice.
Oh,
I remember there was like, they would give us combs for our hair. Like it was like a little package, like a little toothbrush and a comb, and I recreated the scene from a movie where I had all the prisoners like doing this and comb their hair. And, like, I remember the guards were just watching us, like, what the fuck is wrong? Why are you so happy? But yeah, I had such a good time in jail, you know? Even though I don't want to go back, but I remember they would, like, do these, they call them cookouts, and they would combine all of our food together and, like, make these crazy dishes. And
they call it spread as well.
Oh, they call it spread?
Yeah.
In California, huh? Not in Detroit. Well, so they would. I remember they would like we had like bags of Doritos and we'd crush Cheetos and put them and microwave them and like put the cheese. And you could buy like sausage, like these little sausages from the commissary. You cut them and you.
Were you in jail also?
I know. I watch a lot.
Like, how do you know all of this? Wow.
But yeah, it was also very fucking stressful because
I
remember right the day before I got released, I had this dream, and it was like one of the most vivid dreams that I've had. And I was back in Russia, like I was deported, and I was going through the airport, and like this feeling of dread just like came over me, and I was just like, fuck. And I woke up, and I was like, oh my God. And when they came to take me out of jail, they didn't tell me whether I'm going to be released or I'm going to be deported. But for some reason I knew. I was just like new, and that I'm gonna be released. And when I was walking out, one of the prisoners was yelling from us like, "Ivan, is it good or bad?" And I'm like, "Good." And I remember everybody just cheering, and it was incredible.
Wait, so was it like people weren't really like aggressive or fighting each other because everybody's kind of in the same situation, and it wasn't like necessarily like violent crimes that people in there? Was it or
so the immigration units, everybody was pretty much in the same situation. There weren't any like aggressive people, but when I went to the real jail, there was definitely a lot of people for violent crimes, and there was definitely people fighting. I remember, this is really fucked up, but I remember they would lock us down for the night in our cells, and there was 2 people per cell, and the guards always supposed to be in a room for the entire night, but the guards would like leave and they would have cigarettes, and I remember the guards left, and there was like this young like 18-year-old kid that just got arrested, and he was just being raped. Like you could hear him being raped, like screaming for help, like while he's locked up, and like nobody can do anything.
Yeah.
You're just listening to that. You know.
Oh my god.
So yeah, the shit was real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you've been through so much.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. It honestly doesn't really feel like it because I'm still like whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I
sure.
have all my limbs.
For sure.
And I'm also very grateful for all of this, because I always think about like, if I didn't go through this, like what would I be doing? Like be a fucking working corporate job, you know, like which is fine. Like it's fine. I did it for a year.
Yeah.
But like I probably wouldn't have maybe like try to figure shit out about myself.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
So when was like your first psychedelic experience? And do you remember what it was? Like, was it mushrooms?
it was LSD. And it was after I got out of jail, I started being a little wild. and I remember my friend Brad, I don't know if I should redact it, whatever, yeah. My friend Brad, he was even more wilder than me, and he brought acid, and I read a little bit about it. I didn't really know much about it, to be honest with you. And remember, we took it, his mom dropped us off in the Coney Island. Do you know what a Coney Island is?
The Coney
Wait,
Island,
like
New
in
York?
New York?
No, Coney Island restaurant. I think.
Oh, like the corn dogs?
They're not corn dogs. They're like these hot dogs with like Coney sauce all over them.
No.
It's a Detroit thing. It's full of Coney Islands.
I'm like, what is Coney sauce? But
Oh, every Coney Island, they all taste the same. They all use the same. There's only one company, I think, that makes the Coney sauce.
what is it?
It's like chili. It's kind of like chili sauce with like onions in there.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It will destroy you the next day.
Yeah.
It will fucking destroy you. I haven't had a Cody. I've been sober from Cody's for like 5 years. But she dropped us off in this Coney Island restaurant. I remember just staring at this Coney dog, and I could not eat it. And I was just like, "What the fuck? Like, why could I eat it? Like, what's going on?"
After you had taken the acid?
Yeah, I just couldn't fucking eat it. I was just like holding it to my mouth. I couldn't put it in my mouth at all. It was wild. And so then we went to a bar right down the street, and I remember it was like this plastic surgery show on the television, and it was like horrifying. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Everything's melting. And then we go outside at puke, and then my friend is like, oh my god, it's like daylight savings time. We have an extra hour. We're like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. And then we went on an overpass over the freeway, and we sat there, and I remember feeling the cars pass by, and I just turned to him, and I was like, there was a dog in that car, and I felt that dog. It was like almost like a telepathy thing.
Yeah.
I've never experienced anything like that. But yeah, I remember very vividly.
Okay, so then overall it was good experience.
It was great. Yeah.
Amazing. And
Amazing,
then do you remember the first time you took mushrooms? Was it soon?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly when. I started taking LSD after that, like pretty frequently.
Okay.
And I remember the first time we took shrooms, we went to this party in the college town with my friend, and we went to his ex-girlfriend's house. He just randomly was like, let's go to my ex-girlfriend's house. So we went there, and I remember I took an eighth of shrooms, 3.5 grams.
Yeah.
And everything was great. Yeah, everything was great. Like, I was laughing, sitting there with my friend by a bonfire, and then all of a sudden, I think I just told you this story, right? Yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember.
And then everybody's like, we're going to this other party.
Oh, yeah. You did.
And then I get in the van, and all of a sudden, I'm just like, I cannot go anywhere. I'm staying. I'm fucking staying here. And then I ran back into the house, and I just like got on the couch, and I just like started shivering. Like, I held the pillow, and the girl whose house it was just fucking leave. I'm like, we'll go to this other party.
Aww.
And I'm for some reason I'm just so scared. And I hear a knock on the door, and like, this is the first time I've ever had like auditory hallucination this vivid. And I hear it's like, Ivan, we know you're in there. This is the police. Open up. And I'm just like shivering. I'm not moving at all. Like, what the fuck? And they just keep knocking. And all of a sudden the light turns on, and this woman walks in the door. She's like, who are you? What are you doing in my house? And it's this girl's mom who just came back from her trip earlier. And I was just like, please, like, I took mushrooms, and I'm a friend of your daughter's, please don't call the police.
Aww.
And I ended up sitting with this woman for like 4 hours, and she was like crying to me about her ex-husband, and I was crying with her. It was like incredible. Aww. Then they all came back home, and she wasn't even mad at her daughter for throwing a party.
Because of you. Good job.
Awesome. Yeah, I saved the day. Yeah. Nice. No, I think she was just a cool mom. Yeah. Right. I think she didn't care.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, and I mean, now looking back at it, I was so fucking scared of the police after everything that I went through. And I was always scared of the police growing up because, like, I knew that if I get pulled over or something like that, there's a chance that they might be like, they might ask for my identification. I've never had any identification.
Right. Wow. Like a driver's license.
Never, yeah.
Oh, because you couldn't.
I couldn't get in Michigan. No, wow. I know some states you're allowed to.
Yeah, some states I think. Yeah.
But not in Michigan. I think you right before I turned 16 they took that off, so I couldn't get it. Yeah, so that was another thing. I grew up kind of like my friends like, why aren't you like doing anything with your life? Why aren't you getting a driver's license? Why aren't you like going to college or anything like that? So it took my self-esteem took a hit because of a lot of this stuff, Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so how did you go from this part in your life to deciding to come to Peru?
So, the girlfriend that helped me out, I ended up marrying her. So we were married. We were married, I think, for 3 years. And we got divorced. It was just not a good situation.
How old were you?
I was 21 when we got married, and I think it was like 23 when we got divorced.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, both super young, and it just wasn't what, like, I don't know what the fuck I was, like, I went through this like big traumatic experience, and we were both not really good people who couldn't really get along. Basically, there was a lot of like conflict, a lot of yelling and fighting and physical abuse, And so we got divorced before I got my citizenship or my permanent green card. So I kind of risked my green card, and it was just like, okay, this is like, yeah, basically I'll risk my citizenship, my green card, but I can't be in this marriage, And I ended up when I went for my green card interview, they were basically, it was so easy. The guy was just like, I know all about your case, I know all about your story, like, you're good. Boom. It was such a big fucking like build up to it, and I was like, oh my god,
such a low climax.
Yeah. Which the best. Yeah. The best possible scenario. So then I ended up moving to Detroit. I was living in the suburbs with my ex-wife. I ended up moving to Detroit, and I was like playing music a little bit in bands, and I was just drinking almost every night, using drugs like cocaine, whatever I can get my hands on, basically, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have a job. I was going to casino with this fucking guy, with this like older guy who would take me as his good luck charm for a long time.
Oh.
Yeah, and basically got to like a boiling point where I was just mentally I was not really in a great place, and I was dating this girl who broke up with me, and all these girls, it was just like it's always the same relationship, the same person, the same patterns.
Yeah.
And I basically had like a breakdown at one point in front of my friends, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I can't do this shit anymore. Like, I'm not doing anything with my life, you know? And my friends were like, we'll take you to yoga. We'll take you to yoga the next day. And I quit. That's the day I quit drinking. I still haven't drinking since then. It's been like 9 years or something like that. And the yoga actually saved my life, I think. Wow. And it was the first time I remember going to the yoga classes, and it was the first time I was able to release some of my repressed emotions. Like during Shavasana, I started like crying, and I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? And I guess that was the first time that when I started healing.
Yeah.
And I got a job at this liquor store in Detroit called Marcus Market.
After you stopped drinking.
After I started drinking, yeah, that's the funniest thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was awesome because I've got to meet all these people, like, and I met so many cool people. I love doing that job, to be honest, like, honestly. And
I interrupted your shout out. What was it a shout out to?
Oh, Marcus Market.
Marcus Market.
If you're in Detroit.
If you're in Detroit, you'll probably go. If you're in Detroit, you'll probably go to Marcus Market. You know Marcus Market. It's like in Midtown in this very central area, college town, and it was just so much fun. They let me do whatever I want, like be myself during the job. Like I was playing pranks on people. Like I would like start rumors, and I would see how far. Like we had all these delivery drivers come in, and I was like, I bet you I could tell them something, and it would spread through the whole city because they go to all these different stores, and I would spread rumors like this restaurant, like Buffalo Wild Wings bought out this place, Buffalo Wild Wings bought Marcus Market, and then that would spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
People would be like, Buffalo Wild Wings gonna come to like Midtown, like this is, you know, stupid shit like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So then, and I met my girlfriend, Michelle. She was my next door neighbor in Detroit, who I'm still with. We've been together for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So awesome.
Amazing person, yeah. And yeah. And ayahuasca, right? So then I decided to do this like coding boot camp because I was like, I can't be working in the liquor store forever. And I did the coding boot camp. I got a job for this corporation in Detroit, and I was just fucking miserable. Like I knew this is not what I want to do. Like every day I was just super depressed. I was like sleeping during meetings. I lasted a year, but I got fired, and literally like the day that I got fired, I had a trip planned to go to Morocco, and I've always heard about ayahuasca, but I've never was really interested in taking it. And then as soon as I got fired, my first thought was like, okay, now I can go to Peru and do ayahuasca. So I canceled my trip to Morocco, and I bought a ticket to Peru, and I went to Dreamglade, and that's it.
Wow.
And I've been coming to Peru for the past 3 years. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Wait, so Britt and Paige were there your first time?
No, I just met Paige. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I think Britt just started.
That must have been when I just started.
I think it was like 2 weeks, or something. Like
when did you guys come? What month? I think I started in like November.
I think it was January, so it was like 2 months.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense because I think I worked November and then I had like a month off, and then that you're probably there my second month, so maybe like week 5 or something.
You were at the beginning of both of our journeys.
Yeah, that's crazy. What?
I'm the doorway.
Yeah.
I had this funny thing with ayahuasca the other week where, like, a bunch of people have called me the bridge or like a doorway, but I didn't quite get it. And then I was in an ayahuasca ceremony a couple weeks ago at our retreat, and I was literally sitting in front of the doorway to the Maloka, all the ceremonies, and I just realized, like, I'm like, oh shit, I'm like the literal, I'm a literal doorway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just kind of there at the beginning, and like, hey, if you wanna walk through,
Yeah.
You're welcome. But
Yeah,
you don't
thank
have
you.
to.
No, thank you.
It's just an invitation.
But I think we're all doorways, honestly.
Totally.
Like after doing the stuff, like if we people can see that we lead more authentic lives, right?
Of course.
And you could come back and you could be just like, oh, I fucking did ayahuasca, now I'm this and I'm that, but it doesn't matter until you actually embody this stuff, right?
Yeah. It's pretty interesting when people will maybe like list off the amount of times they drink.
Yeah.
But then you're also around them, and like you also see like maybe how they interact with somebody else, or how they maybe get mad over something or interact, and it's like, to me, it's like you're kind of making yourself look bad by saying how many times you drink, because if you're still stuck in this place,
it's not a good look.
like you're not learning your lesson.
Yeah.
And sadly, it's not a good look for the plants either.
Yeah. Yes.
Which
exactly.
is like, I try to explain, because sometimes people will be like, well, I don't get it. This person's drank like 40 times and they're still an asshole. And I'm like, that's not ayahuasca's fault. Like,
No.
these plants can give you the messages, but you're the one who chooses to
Yeah.
implement them
meet
or
it.
not.
Well, that's the biggest. That's one of the biggest stakes away. Like, I think it's just because of our culture and our society. We just want things to work for us. We want it to be like Tylenol, right? And we want it to relieve our pain, but the thing is, like, we really have to do all the work, and it takes time
it takes time
to get that.
Yeah, when I recently started going back to the gym after my body was kind of shut down for a while. We'll save that for another time. But after being here for a year, my body is like back, my energy's back, and so I started going to the gym again, and then it just, while I was in there, I was just like thinking about, like, it's kind of like plant medicine in a way, like, because like you go to the gym and like you want your results. Like, I mean, you almost can't even, like, feel it. Like, after you work out a little bit, you're like, oh, like, I'm kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah,
You get the pump.
Yeah, you get the pump, and, like you feel good,
Yeah.
But, like, it's like you want the result. But, like, if you lift too quickly, you can get hurt. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's how I feel some people that come into this space. It's natural to be like, oh, I just want my healing. And it's like, so you just keep going, but it's like, at least for me personally, what I've realized is, like, the plants have their own time, and they have their plan, and it's like, when we drink them or meet them, it's like we're stepping into their realm. So whatever they have planned, that's kind of like what we have to go into. And so, yeah, and it's like, what we kind of talk about quite a bit here is that, like, a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with is like 20, 30 years in the making, at least for people like in our age group. So it's like, it's okay that it takes longer than like 1 year to fully heal this.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So true. I mean, I spent 2 years in the jungle, and the 5 years before that working with plant medicines on and off. And I was just recently in a yoga class where I was like weeping at the end. And I mean, stuff like that it's amazing. It feels really good, but it's also humbling, because it's like, this shit never ends. Like, there's never going to be a point where you're like, oh, I'm healed. I mean, obviously, but it's just, it's almost kind of nice to know that, though, because it's just like the gym. You're never going to be like, okay, I'm perfect, and then I never have to go to the gym again.
Yeah.
It's like, now you feel good, so you know what to do to keep up with it, and it's on you to do that. So I kind of like that. Otherwise, it'd be way too easy and just boring.
Yeah. Well, it would be just like playing a video game on and what is it called, like the cheats. Like the invincible mode. It's not fun. Like, you lose interest right away. Right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is boring. I can build a mansion. I can have anything.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, back to your shroom trip. It makes a lot of sense that you'd have trust issues, but on the other hand, I'm like, you demonstrated really great trust in the universe a few times, which is like, I don't know, kind of shocking to me, because I feel like just based on your whole past, like, why would you trust in life? But you did.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
really cool.
I think because of the experiences of like, I was able to somehow slip through the jail, like stay in the country, you know what I mean? It kind of like, okay, it just felt like there is a bigger plan for whatever reason. Like, and I just have to take it. And the plant medicine stuff it's a path, right? Like it's a path forward, and I kind of had to go all in. Like I realized I had to go all in.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know what else there is for me. Honestly.
I mean, that's
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Like it just feels it like I was telling you guys last night or 2 nights ago, where it just felt like I've never really had a sense of purpose in my life.
Yeah.
And I was always pretty aimless. Even with some of the interests that I had, hobbies, it just never felt like fulfilling until I started doing this work, and I started realizing it's like, oh, by doing this, by healing myself, I can eventually come to the point where I'm able to help other people.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Yep.
Honestly, there's no greater reward.
Yeah, I've for me, because of my background and how I grew up and things that I've gone through, like I've like taken the role basically that everything that I've been through is so I can help somebody authentically through that same situation. And so I always say it's kind of like also like a superhero movie. Like the superhero just gets their ass kicked the whole time, and then shows up at the end and helps. Yeah. And then then the next movie they kind of get their ass kicked again, and but they grow.
Keep repeating, yeah.
But yeah, so that's definitely the role that I've taken on in my life, in terms of what I've been through as well. But like we said, that'll be another time.
Yeah, we need to have a whole nother episode on you. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys said. It's like, it's a calling, but it's also, you have to answer that calling. It's like, I feel like people will get a calling to do the plants or the fungi or whatever. And then if you answer that call, it's also still your choice. If like, oh, if this brings me great purpose and I want to help people, then you'll answer the call. But I think like, there's not many people who actually do. So it's pretty cool when I meet people like you who like have done it. And because it's weird, I don't know about you guys, but at least for me, when I started like hearing the call, I didn't believe in any of that stuff. And then when it felt too loud to ignore, I was like, I realized that I didn't, like, I wanted to deny it so bad, because I'm like, I don't want to be another white girl who like moves to the jungle and works with ayahuasca. It just felt like there was a lot of that going on, and I just didn't want to like, I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to like be a hippie, but here we are.
No, I totally get that. Yeah, totally get that.
It's like part of the hero's journey, right? I think it's like you get the call, you refuse the call, you struggle, some mentor pops up, you accept the help. Like it's the whole thing. But I want to bring it back to your mushroom trip, because I want to hear the rest of what happened.
Okay, yeah. Where were we at?
So we were on the grass. Lou gave you great advice of like, what are you in control of? Or whatever you said. Yeah.
Well, he said, because he said, like, I just feel like I'm losing control. And then I was like, of what?
Of what?
Yeah.
And, like, I was trying to be, like, a little wise. But then also, like, I wanted, like, you to be able to... I actually wanted to hear what you thought you were losing control of. Because I figured that there wasn't anything, really.
Well, it's...
My bowels.
Yeah. It's funny because you always read in a lot of the like, the spiritual, esoteric books about that stuff, about what are you really losing control of, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not until you've actually had that experience, it kind of brought a lot of those lessons back to me. It's like, oh, what the fuck am I losing control of? Like, there's nothing to lose control of. I'm fine. I'm here. Like, I'm safe.
Yeah.
And nothing can take that away. Maybe the reptilians, though. That shit was really scary.
Well, you know what's so funny? It's like, so you saw Brit in like a certain, like, with shifting, and then she said that she saw me. So because at one point she thought I was an angel, and then you also saw some kind
like
of
devilish face
on me as well. But the thing is like we all have both sides. We were talking about this. Like we all have both of those in us. It's just which one do you feed?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see that, you start feeling better, and then where's it go from there?
Yeah, I started feeling better, and I had this really like amazing feeling. Right, I don't think I've ever actually felt before that I always wanted to feel. Where I was just like, man, it's almost like I found my tribe, man.
Yeah.
No, seriously, like I was like, man, Lou's such an amazing friend. Like I keep seeing Brett like every year, like, and it was just I've never felt so supported. Honestly, like it felt incredible. I know Michelle felt the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys just really succeeded with the cult stuff. Like,
we'll never really know.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not gonna be able to figure that out.
No, not until you're too deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not until
when I'm like doing a ritual sacrifice, I'm like, wait.
Hold on a second.
I was right.
I do all along.
Yeah, but I also had this like, it's so hard to put into words. There was a thing where it felt like all of this was always a game. My entire life back in Detroit was always a game. This is like a Garden of Eden where I was supposed to be, and I don't have to go home. Like I don't have to board the plane to go home. I think I don't know if it was my imagination. I might have asked Lou, like, do I have to go back home?
No, you didn't ask me.
Okay. I saw myself asking you that, and you were like, no.
Lou would have said no.
I would have said no.
You would have definitely said no.
But yeah, it was just like this crazy feeling. It's like all of these rules that I was abiding by, living my life. Like I didn't have to follow them. I had that, you know. Have you had that before? You look like
yes. I'm remembering I had one trip. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something similar. Not the same as yours, but a similar lesson at the end where I was like, oh, life is a playground. Like, we can choose. I mean, yes, a lot of the stuff we're not in control of, but a lot of the stuff we are in control of. Like, getting on a flight. You're in control of that for the most part, and what you do for a job, and who you hang out with. Like, all these things, it's like, people view life as this thing you have to do, or you can view it as this thing you get to do. It's just like it was a perspective shift for me, because I was going through the motions, like, dragging everywhere, just like, why am I alive? This is so hard. Why am I alive? And then at some point, it's like, I get to be alive, so, like, what can I do for fun? Okay, we're back after a quick tea break. So, let's go back to your trip.
Yeah.
We can finish it off. So, we were kind of talking about how you realize, like, you're in the Garden of Eden.
Yep.
You don't have to go back home. And we can make choices in this life that we can stay depressed and doing stuff we hate or doing stuff we love. Kind of ended there. But anywhere else that the trip took you?
Yeah, so I mean, after I came to Peru last time, my girlfriend and I made the decision that we're going to move here. And throughout this past year, I've had a lot of just like anxiety. Like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to pull this one off? And this trip, this mushroom trip, I definitely got the message where it's like I said before, like, this is where you belong. Like, you're going to figure out a way, like, it's going to happen. And honestly, everything's been kind of falling into place. And Lou's been a big help in that regard too, which is not a, we always say this, but it's not an accident that we all met. And, you guys, one second, look at the hole of my sock.
Oh my God.
It's huge.
It's holy.
But yeah, my girlfriend is leaving tomorrow, and I'll be staying here working with the medicine for the next few weeks. And it just feels right. Like, it feels like I don't have to really go back. Like, I can stay here, and I can create my life the way that I really want to create it, design it. And it's honestly for the first time in my life that I felt that. Wow. I felt that, like, I've broken through some of the things that were holding me back, like these invisible chains, basically, you know. Yeah, it was incredible. It felt like this mushroom ceremony. It was leading all up to this ceremony. I guess every ceremony leads to the next ceremony. Right. Leads to the next ceremony. But yeah, it just felt like I finally had like the breakthrough that I've been searching for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Super happy for you.
Yeah.
So we're so glad, like, when you and Michelle wanted to come.
When?
No, when you wanted to come to the ceremony.
Yeah.
It was just like, you know, you're just a part of our people.
Totally.
And I just knew that it was going to be, like, super powerful. But especially at the beginning where it's like, every time I do mushrooms, I get really scared. I was like, okay, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, you said a few times like that where it was just like little clues. You're like, I'm really extra scared. Like usually people kind of know when something's coming.
Well, I just want to also, I don't think we talked about this, but right before the ceremony, we worked in the garden here at the Casa de la Gringa, and it just felt, it's set up perfectly for the ceremony. Like it felt so good just to give back a little bit to the place, or just like plant something that's gonna grow here and other people are gonna be able to enjoy. Like fucking awesome. Yeah. That was part of, I think, what made this so special for everybody.
Yep.
I think so too. That was really cool. I've never done that before here, and that was just
I know.
awesome.
I think it maybe could be a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like we come, we garden, and then we go into ceremony.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, it's because it's like connecting with nature. Like you said, it's adding something back, giving back, and it's just like a nice thing to give to Les for like letting us be here.
Yeah.
In this beautiful place.
100%. It made me feel better about being here and using the space and,
Yeah.
and all of that.
Because then it's like, all right, we can, even if we get a little crazy, it's like, yeah, but we garden.
We garden. And we do get crazy. But yeah, I feel the same way. Like, when I heard that you guys were going to be here, I'm like, you just fit right in, both of you guys.
Yeah.
And
thank
it's
you
very
guys.
seamless. It's really nice. And that's how everyone has been that I've met here or become good friends with, or like even past guests who I've become, it's just like so easy.
It is, yeah.
People are just kind of given to you on this path, and it's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty easy thing to kind of find common ground in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
At least between us.
It is between us. Not everybody, but
Yeah.
that's you can't find.
But you know, that's something that I learned here though, is like not everybody you meet that you're going to be of service to is going to be your friend. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, but you still show up for them.
Absolutely.
Like as much as you can. And you know, they can take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you're not going to be friends with everybody, and so I'm very glad that you guys are friends. And that we're friends
Thank
with
you, man.
So,
yeah,
Me
I feel the
too.
same way, man.
And that you're joining our cult.
Yeah.
Hey, honestly, why not?
Well, the reality is, it's like, how don't you think our cult would be pretty awesome?
I mean,
Dude,
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I just think
we should start a cult.
Yeah.
I had this hilarious Aya experience where I'm like in the Maloka, and I had been drinking for a while at that point, so it wasn't like I was brand new questioning the whole situation. This just kind of came up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I was like, hold on a second, like, are we is this like a church for ayahuasca? Like, are we worshiping a deity? Like, are we, you know, I started to go down that thought rabbit hole, and I was like, if we're worshiping ayahuasca, what does that mean? Like, we're basically praying to her, thanking her, like, I'm telling her how beautiful she is, like, and she's doing so much tangible work for me. I'm cool to worship ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Like, I, like, went full circle with it. I was like, okay, if this is some weird-ass ayahuasca church, like, I'm actually fine with it. Because out of all the things to worship, I'm here worshiping what I feel is, like, Mother Earth and, like, the consciousness of everything, which you could call God. So it's like, sure. That, at the end of the day, I made terms with it.
Yeah. We're technically worshiping something, always.
Yeah.
Worshiping money, worshiping our jobs, our families, right? So
Totally.
why not this?
Or worshiping shitty things, like porn or sugar or your phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, out of all the things you could worship.
Not the best.
Not so bad.
Not the worst thing.
Yeah, definitely not. Damn, that's so cool. So what's you're going to do more plant medicine the next few weeks and then head back to the States?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're going to hang out with Lou a little bit. We're going to do some yoga.
Yep. Do some yoga.
Make some
Maybe
music.
you can come to the gym that I'm coming to.
Yeah, I'd love to. I was going to ask you for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Just hang out until we have to have a few months of separation.
Yeah.
And then I'll be back.
Then you'll be back.
I'll be back, yeah.
It's just so cool because I know with my story, like I had a lot of people to inspire me to, like, people who I looked up to who were doing what I wanted to do and did the things I thought I was too scared to do. And then so when I ultimately did that, I became a person who other people could see as an example doing it. And now I'm like, well, now you're doing it. And it's really cool for me to just see people, like, I don't know, I'm like, wow, this is so awesome. We're actually out here doing it.
Yeah.
Not just talking about it, like, we're actually doing it, and it's
Yeah.
not so hard. And, like, I always told people at the center, like, you basically just have to take the first step, and then you'll be carried.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, you have to be the one to initiate. You have to, like, change your energy, move the momentum. But once you do that, then everything comes in to support you.
Yeah.
And that sounds really woo-woo, hippie, weird. But it's fucking true. I've seen it so many times
Yeah.
with so many people, and it continues to astound me. I'm still
Yeah.
always like, wow, this is a thing. But it's a thing, and it's really cool to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you. You've made the leap. Like, you're going to be carried now.
Yeah.
You know? And seriously, like, life is going to unfold in really beautiful ways for you.
I mean, but even to me, it's just like, what's already happened in your life? Like, if you can fucking cross a border
Yeah.
and, like, make and do that, like, you can follow your path here.
Of course, yeah.
You
So
know?
true.
I think so too.
And, like, because,
Yeah.
like, something's supporting you. Something has your back.
100%, yeah.
You know?
I felt it before. Like, there's a reason why we're all doing this. And it was hard to build up that complete trust, right? Like that kind of unwavering trust until recently,
Yeah.
until I took this trip,
Yeah.
and it really cemented it for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all in.
It's so good.
Which is-
It's so
Hell
cool.
yeah!
It's so cool.
That is really fucking
Oh.
cool. Yeah, I agree. Based on your whole entire background, everything you've gone through, like, this might be a cakewalk.
Yeah, and it's. I feel like some people be like, okay, like, what the fuck are you doing now? You're gonna go to Peru, do ayahuasca, but if you look, like, why not? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't-
Seriously.
But, so, you know, it's like, because, so I've told you guys this before, that, like, for me, when my friend asked me, it's like, oh, if I want to come down there and I drink medicine, what if I want to quit everything and everything, like, I don't want to go back? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong person. Like, I've stayed here, but I realized that my way of helping people is to actually help the people that don't want to go back. That's my integration process that I help with.
That's why we found you the perfect person.
True.
But, like, you know, but the reason why I'm saying that is, like, one of the pieces of it is, like, some people get so scared, like, what am I going to do? How do I quit this job? When do I move there? And I'm, you know, it's like, the worst thing that happens is you go back and you get another job.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, like, that's it.
Totally.
Like, that's, like, you just have enough money to fly back. If not, somebody will probably
Someone
help you.
will help you.
And
Yeah.
the worst thing you do is you have to go back to a job, which will be the worst possible.
Yeah. You probably won't. Or you'll
Yeah.
do what I do, go back to the job and realize you can't fucking do that anymore.
Yeah.
And then you're back here anyway. So it's like,
Yep.
you know, you always end up where you're meant to be ending up.
Yeah.
But that does reminded me of this guest who I loved her so much. She's like, I won't say her name because she went through some really, really traumatic childhood stuff. But after she had worked through that for a couple weeks at the center, she was literally sitting at the swim platform and saying exactly what you had just said. She just started laughing, and I was like, what? It was a great sign because she had been having like tough times. And she was just like, I just realized I've been so afraid to quit my job because she's like, what's the worst that can happen? I get another job.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst. Like, I just get another job. Like, it was just like so funny to her that was the worst case because she's an educated woman. I mean, come on, you can get a job if you want a job. But the thing also, I think another thing about the plant medicine stuff is if all of us are getting these messages, like, the trust is a huge element because you have to just trust the messages you're getting from plants, which to our society is like,
It's
what?
crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know,
Yeah.
like, one of the person that we just had here, they were drinking for the first time, and I was explaining, like, speaking to San Pedro, and, you know, now that I don't even have to drink and I can ask questions and get answers, and I was like, yeah, you know, it's like the spirit of the plant, it's your higher self, it's a little bit of delusion. Like, you know, it's a little bit of all of them.
Totally.
Yeah,
But,
you
like,
think-
so far it's led me in the right way. And so that's why I continue to ask and follow the path that I've been given.
It's really just science. Like, it's not. But if you look at my life or your life or our lives like a science experiment, it's like, who cares if it's delusion? It's been going such a beautiful way. Does it matter?
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me if I'm just so much happier now and I'm just delusional.
Yeah, that's okay.
Fine, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, it's the first, you know, me coming here, it's the first time really in my life, like, waking up happy every day. So, yeah, if it's just delusion, like, that's fine with
That's
me.
fine. Because what really are we living in besides, like, a reality of our perception?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever you're perceiving is your reality. And I used to be afraid of, you know, like I said earlier, oh, I'm going to be that girl who comes down and works with ayahuasca. There's so many people doing it already. The market's saturated. It's just not true.
No.
Like, we need as much help as we can get.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
anyone wants to come work with plants, like, please, you know, get them in. Let's get them healing. Like,
The other part is like, we all have our own medicine, you know? That's why it's like, even like, you could be like a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, whatever it is, there's so much open for you because it's your medicine too that people are going to come back to.
yeah, that's so true. Each one of us has our unique fingerprint. So I think I used to be scared of that. Like, oh, I'll just be another... They don't need more of me. It's like, actually, the world needs exactly you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of fear of scarcity. Too.
Yes.
Like we like the oversaturation, or we don't have enough. There's too much.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy because I think if every single human on this planet started wanting to work with a healing modality, like you said, whatever it is, yoga, meditation, plants, like, awesome, cool. That's not a bad thing.
It'd
Like,
be a better world.
literally
There's
every
a lot,
single person
there's
could
a lot
do
of
it.
people out there.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Any finishing thoughts you guys want to share? Or
I just want to say I love you all.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. Fucking some of the best times of my life I've had
Yes.
in these spaces.
me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Love you guys.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank
This
you.
was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.